just before the video starts, make sure you go and check out my website, ystech.org. This is the place where you're going to be finding the latest news and everything great in technology, from reviews to tutorials and much more. So make sure you go check it out in the description, ystech.org. I'll see you there. Hey guys, it is Wise from Wise Tech here, and today we're going to be doing a budget PC build. Now I'm actually going to call this the budget PC build for January 2021, as it's so close to it, and this is a pretty good build. I know I put out a recent build just a few days ago, or actually be a week ago now, on Christmas Eve, and that was a little bit more of a mid-tier build, you could call it, and this one's more of a budget one. So I'm going to go over some options with you guys here. So as always, I'm going to show you the price. So 1,228, and this will fluctuate depending on the parts you choose and the options that I've shown you on screen. Now again, you can choose whatever you like, but these are pretty good recommendations as far as I know. So let's go ahead and kick off the build with the CPU. So first we've got the Intel Core i5-10400F. It comes at about $244 from Computer Lounge. Now you may be wondering why I went with Intel this time. The reason I did is because you'll see the other two options that I have CPUs here, or three options, are not in stock, and they're not going to be in stock for quite a while, at least two of them. I know one of them is, but this is definitely a good option to replace the AMD Ryzen 3 3100 and the AMD Ryzen 3300X. Now, in terms of performance, this guy is actually quite comparable to the 3300X from what I've seen. You also might be wondering why I didn't put the 9400F, and that's just because it's about $20 cheaper, or $10 cheaper, and it actually performs quite far worse, so there's no point going with that. You might as well just go with something better for the long run as well. You're on Intel as well. On the motherboard side, you're not going to be able to upgrade your CPU for the future, unlike AMD, so just keep that in mind as well. When you're going with these boards, you'll only be able to upgrade within this generation of compatibility, I guess. So let's go over and see the AMD CPU options. So when they do come back in stock, there'll be pretty good options as well to go with. They're not in stock right now, I can guarantee you that, at least in New Zealand. So we've got the AMD Ryzen 3 3100, and that's about $179 from Playtech, or about $229 from Computer Lounge. It's actually quite a good CPU when it is in stock. It's quite comparable to my 1500X, and I only play light games. I don't play anything heavy. I only play like League of Legends and Valorant, and it goes really well. I also video edit on this machine with 1500X, and it does really well. Mine's not overclocked. This CPU is apparently better, or comparable, or better than mine, the 1500X, the 3100. So you should be doing quite well on it. It's only a 4-core CPU, so if you want something better, you probably should pick something else. But it is decent for its price, especially at $180. 229 is kind of pushing it. You could probably get the 3300X for that price. But let me go show you guys the 3300X now. Also a quad-core CPU, but it is really, really fast. It's really well optimized. I'm not really sure what went into it that made it so good, but at the moment it's out of stock in most places. So you can get this about $279 when it's in stock from Computer Lounge, or $226 from Palladium PCs. Very good CPU as well. Now the one that is in stock usually is the AMD Ryzen 5 3600, and it's a very popular CPU, $349 from PBTech, but they don't have any. And it looks like everyone's kind of out. Computer Lounge is also out $389, so you guys probably have to wait up for some CPUs, but definitely this is one of the best CPUs you can get right now, especially for gaming on a budget, under like $400 I guess in New Zealand. It's definitely a good CPU. So the ranking I'd go as in terms of CPU would be AMD Ryzen 5 3600, probably then the i5-10400F, and it's probably about the same as the 3300X, and then lastly is the 3100. So that's pretty good. So now we have three options for your motherboard. So first of all, we've gone with the Intel one first because that's this build, and it's the Asus Prime B460M-A Micro ATX motherboard. Now, yeah, it has 4 DIMM slots for your RAM and doesn't have any cool I/O shields or anything, but it's pretty decent from what it is. 116X slots, 2.M.2 slots. Probably you won't be able to access one because of the graphics card and how big it will be, but not bad at all for this little board here. Also has 4 SATA from what I saw there, or 6 SATA, sorry. So that comes in about $155 from PB Tech or $159 from Computer Lounge. It's out of stock from them. So at least you got one option from here. So with the ones for the AMD CPUs here, you can probably go with the ASRock B550 HDV. This is a pretty decent motherboard as well. And it's a B550 motherboard, so it's better than the other one I'm about to show you as well, considering it's a newer board and will be able to support more CPUs from AMD in the future, or well, just ending up now because it's getting to 2021, so they'll be closing off that little period that we've had for the last 4 years of, or 3 to 4 years of being able to upgrade on AMD's side for continuous generations. But yeah, it's definitely quite good because it's quite new. But that's it for this board, I guess. 2 DIMM slots, 2 SATA, and 116X, and no M.2. So that's kind of unfortunate. It's also a micro ATX board. Yeah, it's B550 though. If you look around, there's other cool B550s for a little bit more. I think there was one for 178 from the Asus B550, so you can also get that if you'd like. But the other option is, for a budget at least, is the Asus Prime B450 M-A motherboard. I have the 350, so I can kind of vouch for it in terms of my one, but I'm not sure about this one, so because it's one up. But I assume everything's the same. They just changed the architecture a little bit. Now it is a 450, so you probably be able to do a BIOS update to be able to support newer CPUs, but that's definitely not guaranteed, unlike the B550. And even the B550 will need BIOS updates about now as well. Comes with 6 SATA and 1 M.2 and 1 PCIe 16X, obviously, and 4 DIMM slots for your RAM, which is pretty good. No I/O shield, just like the other two. Get pretty basic motherboard, but it's pretty decent. Micro ATX as well. $145 from Computer Lounge, and probably pick it up somewhere else for cheaper maybe. This is on special. Let's head over to the RAM. So I've put in the RAM for this build, the Kingston Fury 16 gig 2666 megahertz RAM, and that's about $129 from First Wave, or $137 from Aquila Technologies, and that's pretty. It's okay. If you'd like to spend $20 extra, quite literally, I'd highly recommend getting faster RAM. I like the one I'm about to show you. You'll probably notice a slight difference depending on what you're doing on your computer, but I think the RAM here, the Corsair Vengeance LPX 16 gigs for $144 or $145 from Computer Lounge or First Wave, is really good because it's 3200 megahertz, which is pretty quick, very quick, and definitely highly recommended for the AMD boards. I'm not too sure about the Intel one, but definitely faster RAM will always be better on most computers in any case. And for $20 extra, I'd probably go the extra mile, or actually $14 extra. Probably get the extra mile and probably get the 3200 megahertz. But if you're on an extremely tight budget, I understand. Maybe go with the 2666 megahertz RAM, and you should be all good. Mind you, I'm on a 2400 megahertz RAM, and I do everything pretty decently. I prefer faster RAM, but my motherboard doesn't support it, so I'm stuck with this 2400. But definitely try to aim for 3200 or higher. Definitely a good benchmark, especially for future proofing. Let's go over to the SSD. As usual, I always pick the Samsung Evo 500 gig SSD. $99 on special, usually about $120 on normal price. So you can get the First Wave, PB Tech, and Computer Lounge on special right now. or you can get it from Extreme PC for 116. That's normal price, mind you. $120 for that is pretty decent. The reason I recommend Samsung drives is just personal experience. I only buy Samsung drives now because I've just had good experience with them in terms of reliability, and I've had the least failures and crashes on them. By all means, you can get a cheaper SSD, but in my personal experience, I haven't had good experiences with a lot of other brands of SSDs. But that's just my distrust, and you can take it as you want. But definitely stick with Samsung for myself and maybe for you guys as well. Hopefully, you won't experience any problems. The other option as well is you can get the 970 Evo for 500 gig M.2 for about $99 as well. Sorry, I didn't pick a link for that one, but it's also an option. It's an M.2 drive. It's a lot faster, and if the motherboards here actually support it, like this one, not this one, and this one here, they support M.2 drives, so those will be also a really, really fast option if you don't really mind that. And just one thing on the B450, I think here, and on some other motherboards, it will disable 2 of your SATA slots, so 2 of them will be inactive. So if you need 6 drives plugged in, which is highly unlikely, unlike me, maybe just go with the standard SATA drive instead of the M.2. But otherwise, the M.2 drive is fine. Let's head over to the graphics card. Now, I've got a few options here, but for the budget option, we've gone with the Sapphire Radeon RX 5500 XT, 8 gigs, about $299 from PB Tech, or $372 from Palladium PCs. Now, this is a decent card. Lower end, you would call it now. Very low, well, not very low end, but lower, definitely a lot lower end now. It's very comparable to my personal RX 580 that I have in my build, and you'll definitely be able to get at least 60 FPS in most AAA titles at 1080p low settings. Definitely not high or medium, probably low. In the most recent titles, or even less, you might end up trying to find lower settings somehow. I don't know, or even lowering your resolution, something like that. But you should be good in most titles. I don't really play too much games anymore, so it's hard for me to tell because I'm not a normal gamer, as you'd say. Yeah, so definitely a good build. This is a good build. Sorry, I'm going off the bat here, but this graphics card is pretty good as well. Now the other option we've got here is for slightly more mid-end, the RX 5600 XT, or low end, I guess. Definitely do well in most AAA games now at 1080p, at least medium settings, pretty well. $429 from Playtech, definitely very good price, probably one of the lowest I've ever seen it. The 5600 XT is a pretty decent graphics card. Most of my friends actually have it, and the reason is because it's quite cheap, well, not cheap, but it's reasonably priced compared to its performance, and yeah, it can play most games at medium 1080p. It is GDDR6 as well. I believe this one is also GDDR6, but not as fast. It just has a lot of VRAM, that's all. Now, one of the other things to watch out for as they come down in price is the GTX 1080s. Now, I've actually seen these on TradeMe for listed at about $400 on auctions, which is starting price. So definitely won't go for $400, but it's something to consider. They are older cards, but I guess it is pretty decent for its price if it does stay at $400 or below. Definitely something to watch out for. I've got 3 here. You guys can see that there, and there's another one here as well. So definitely good cards. Apparently they're quite comparable to the 5600 XT, if not better in some cases. Definitely quite well made from back in 2017. Very good of a steel card from before, and definitely something to watch out for as they come down in price due to the new graphics card generations coming out. Now, one thing to watch out for on these graphics cards is they're quite high powered. They take a lot of power, and you need a better quality power supply to power them. These budget power supplies won't do as well. they'll do okay, but these guys take a hell of a lot of power. So they've got 2 8-pin slots here, so that's quite a bit. You'll need quite a good power supply. That's one thing to keep in mind with these second-hand parts, such as the GTX 1080 or 1070, or even some of the, I wouldn't be surprised if you saw the 2070s and 2080s go a lot cheaper than what they are, or at retail from before. So let's head over to the power supply. So the budget power supply I've gone with, very budget power supply. This one's not actually on the list. It's the Cooler Master MWE Bronze V2. Now, if you're picking the 5500 XT, you should be fine on this. It's bronze rated, which is okay. It is from Cooler Master. It's 550 watt, and it's $91 from PB Tech. It's pretty decent. It's not a modular power supply, so you're going to be getting that spaghetti cables, but if you know how to manage it properly and you get a thing called cable extenders, I think they called that, sleeve cable extenders for power supplies, you can get quite a good look. I have a spaghetti power supply, but my cables, if you saw in a recent video about the AMD rates by RGB, yeah, they look pretty decent now, because I managed to get those extenders. So that's also an option. Now the next option is actually on the list, which is a little bit more. It's the Cooler Master MWE Gold 550 watt gold certified power supply. It's $140 from PB Tech, and yeah, it's I have personally not used this power supply. You can also use the Silverstone Strider gold power supply, which is also quite decent. About the same price. This one's a bit cheaper, about $20, I think. But yeah, you should be okay with the 1080s on this. It is only 550 watt. I'd probably, for the 1080s, I'd probably try to go at least 650 watt just to be safe. Those are quite power hungry cards, as from memory, I believe. And yeah, it should be pretty decent. The modular power supply, the advantage you get is it's easier to cable manage. That's about it. These gold ones will be a bit more efficient, which is good for the power hungry cards. Yeah, usually the better the rating on bronze, silver, and gold. Platinum, I believe, is to do with power draw and efficiency of that. So yeah, especially on the power hungry cards like the 1080, gold certified would be pretty good. Now for the cases, so I've gone with the Cooler Master Master Box MB320L ARGB. Sorry, it's just a random case I picked that looked good. I've never touched it in real life. It just looked good. It had decent reviews, I guess. And it was $126 from PB Tech. Yeah, it looks pretty decent from what it is. Doesn't come with a fake, what do you call it, case fan on the back, but you can add one in that I've shown here is the Cooler Master Master Fan MF Halo. It's about $32 from PB Tech, quite expensive. And you can add that in as well and daisy chain them all together to get your RGB working all in sync. Yeah, a decent case from the looks of it at least. And lastly, we have another case. Is the Inwin 301 tempered glass. I've actually felt this one in real life. It's fully metal. Actually feels quite decent in hand in the person. You're gonna have to add some fans into it because it comes with none. So you have to add one back case fan and two here. From memory, I think it has a power supply shroud on the top. So that'd be pretty decent as well. And yeah, it's a micro ATX mid tower case as well. So these two are pretty cool. Now overall, the build comes to $1,228, which is quite a lot, especially for a budget build. But I've given you some different options to go with, and the budget will vary depending on what you get. Just make sure that stuff fits in. Like, for example, I think one of the power supplies doesn't fit exactly right into this case here, so just be aware of that. You can go with cheaper cases as well, but from experience, they're a little bit annoying because some things will be made properly with good quality control and some of them won't. For example, I was helping my friend build his computer, and he went with a very budget case. It was about $60, and the back PCIe brackets were not made properly, and we actually had to physically bend them in just to get the graphics card to to sit properly because everything was fine. And the graphics card was in properly in the bay, but the outside PCIe bracket where you put the actual screw, that little piece of metal bracket there was actually bent outwards, so we had to bend that end by hand. So that was a bit irritating, but I guess it is what it is. And yeah, so that about sums up the video. Thank you guys very much for watching. Make sure you go and check out ystech.org for latest posts, reviews, and much more. I'll see you guys there at ystech.org. But other than that, I hope you guys have an awesome day. Stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.